Imagine a city sprawling with skyscrapers, apartment buildings, and shopping malls, but eerily devoid of people. This is not a scene from a dystopian movie, but a reality in certain parts of China. Welcome to the enigma of China's ghost cities, urban landscapes that are built to accommodate millions but are largely devoid of inhabitants. These cities, constructed with an eye to the future, were expected to be bustling hubs of economic activity. Yet, they stand today, not as symbols of progress, but as silent sentinels to a problem that is uniquely Chinese: the issue of empty geography. Now, you may wonder, why would a country build cities for no one? The answer lies in the anticipation of urban migration. China, in its quest to urbanize, overestimated the pace at which people would move from rural areas to cities. The result? These ghost cities that were built to house millions remain largely vacant. But the story doesn't end there. Slower population growth has also played a crucial role in this phenomenon. China's restrictive one-child policy, though now abolished, has led to a slowdown in population growth. This, coupled with the high property prices in these cities, has made them unaffordable for many, leaving these urban landscapes largely unoccupied. In a country that is home to 1/5 of the world's population, the irony of these empty cities is striking. They stand as stark reminders of the pitfalls of overambition, of what happens when economic forecasting goes awry. But beyond the empty buildings and deserted streets, these ghost cities represent a larger issue. They symbolize the challenges China faces in its urbanization drive, the difficulties in balancing economic growth with population control, and the struggle to ensure that development does not outpace demand. So, these ghost cities stand as silent monuments to a problem that China grapples with: the issue of empty geography. These empty cities, with their haunting silence, echo a question that reverberates beyond the borders of China. What happens when the pace of development outstrips the pace of demand? What happens when cities built for millions remain largely empty? The economic repercussions are severe. Let's delve into this a bit further. These ghost towns, these concrete jungles devoid of people, represent a massive squandering of resources. Not only the physical materials that went into their construction, but also the human labor, the time, and the money. They are a haunting testament to a misallocation of China's assets on a staggering scale. This matters because these empty cities contribute significantly to China's debt problem. The country's debt-to-GDP ratio, a key economic indicator, has skyrocketed in recent years, and the ghost cities are a big part of that. Banks lent money to developers, who built cities on the assumption that people would come. But when these cities remain empty, those loans go unpaid, increasing the financial strain on the banking sector. And then, there's the potential for a property market collapse. If property prices fall, developers could go bankrupt, causing a domino effect throughout the economy. Loans would turn bad, banks would falter, and ordinary people who invested their savings in property could lose everything. This scenario isn't just a problem for China. It would send shockwaves through the global economy. The world is more interconnected than ever, and a crisis in the Chinese property market could trigger a worldwide recession, much like the US subprime mortgage crisis did in 2008. This is not just a hypothetical situation. Economists are sounding the alarm, warning that the bubble could burst at any moment. But it's not just the economy that's at stake. These empty cities are also a breeding ground for social unrest. Empty cities, wasted resources, and a struggling economy. These factors breed discontent. And in China, it's the minority groups that are rising up. In the vast expanse of China, there are myriad ethnic groups, each with their unique cultures and traditions. However, two groups have been particularly vocal in their dissent: the Uyghurs and Tibetans. These minority groups have been increasingly raising their voices, expressing their discontent with the state of affairs. The Uyghurs, primarily located in Xinjiang, have been grappling with a host of issues. From forced assimilation to cultural erosion, their plight has been a subject of international scrutiny and concern. Despite the government's efforts to quell dissent, the Uyghurs remain undeterred, their voices echoing across the barren landscapes of their homeland. Similarly, the Tibetans, nestled in the heights of the Himalayas, have been voicing their grievances. Their demand for greater autonomy and the preservation of their unique culture and religion has led to a tense standoff with the Chinese government. Despite the harsh crackdowns, their spirit remains unbroken, their protests a testament to their resilience. The Chinese government's response to these protests has been a mix of stringent measures and strategic silence. While there have been instances of force used to suppress dissent, the government has also employed a strategy of downplaying the extent of the discontent, often denying the existence of these protests altogether. However, the voices of dissent continue to rise, reverberating across the vast landscapes of China. These voices, these protests, they're not just expressions of discontent. They're a cry for change, a demand for recognition, a plea for respect of cultural diversity. As we see, the problem of empty geography in China has far-reaching implications, both economically and socially. The rising discontent among minority groups is a clear testament to this. How the Chinese government responds to these cries for change could very well shape the future of this vast nation and its diverse people. China's empty geography problem isn't confined within its borders. It has global repercussions. A nation's economic health doesn't just impact its own citizens. In our interconnected world, the prosperity or decline of one country can have a ripple effect across continents. This is particularly true for China, a behemoth in the global economy. Its empty cities and the looming economic collapse present significant implications for global trade, investment, and financial markets. Let's consider global trade. China is a key player, with its goods and services reaching every corner of the world. An economic collapse could disrupt supply chains, creating shortages and inflating prices. From electronics to clothing, the effects would be felt in the living rooms and wallets of consumers worldwide. Then, there's investment. China, with its booming economy, has been a lucrative destination for investors. But the specter of empty cities and potential economic collapse could trigger a mass exodus of capital. This would not only destabilize China's economy further, but also could create a domino effect, causing turbulence in global financial markets. The financial markets would indeed be in for a wild ride. China's economic health has a significant influence on global stock markets. A potential collapse could send shockwaves through Wall Street, the London Stock Exchange, and beyond. Investors everywhere would be bracing for impact, and ordinary people could see their pensions and savings take a hit. In a world where economies are intricately linked, China's empty geography problem is a matter of global concern. Its repercussions will not just echo within the vast vacant cities of China, but will reverberate around the world, potentially altering the economic landscape in ways we can only begin to imagine. So, the world watches and waits as China grapples with its geography of emptiness. China's empty cities are more than just a curiosity. They are a symptom of a deeper issue. We've journeyed through the ghostly silence of China's empty cities, an eerie testament to the country's economic ambitions and its unintended consequences. These cities, once symbols of economic prowess and growth, now stand as stark reminders of the potential pitfalls of rapid, unchecked urbanization. The impending collapse we discussed isn't merely a figment of speculation. It's a reality that's slowly unfolding, reflected in the crumbling infrastructure and deserted streets. The economic implications are profound. The resources poured into these cities, the billions spent on construction, infrastructure, and maintenance, all seem to be sinking into an abyss of non-recovery. And then there's the rising discontent. The voices of the minority groups are becoming louder, their protests more widespread. This is a social problem that's escalating, fueled by the sense of injustice and inequality. The empty cities are a physical manifestation of this growing divide, a divide that could lead to social unrest if not addressed. The global impact of China's empty geography problem cannot be underestimated. With China being a global economic powerhouse, the ripple effects of its internal issues can and will be felt across the globe. From potential economic downturns to shifts in global power, dynamics. The consequences are far-reaching. As we ponder on these empty cities, we must ask ourselves, what lessons can we learn from China's geography of emptiness? The intricate interplay of economics, society, and politics is laid bare in these deserted landscapes, offering us a mirror to reflect on our own practices and policies. In the end, these concrete jungles, devoid of life, serve as a stark reminder of the delicate balance between ambition and sustainability, between growth and societal well-being, between the pursuit of power and the importance of inclusivity. This isn't just about China, it's a global conversation, a lesson in urban planning, economic management, and social justice. It's an invitation to reflect, to learn, and to work towards a more sustainable, inclusive future. As we ponder on these empty cities, we must ask ourselves, what lessons can we learn from China's geography of emptiness?